Hello, it's me, NCR here, with another episode of the Sunshining Podcast. This is officially episode number 12. And there's so many... So this is the last official episode of the year. And I'm going to be bringing the Sunshining Podcast back again in 2021. And so there's so many topics that I could end the year with. But one of the topics that I just want to end this year with, the topic that I am ending this year with, is the topic of fasting. So I just want to talk a little bit about fasting. And so this will be a short, quick, and fast episode. You get the joke? Anyways, ad break. I wish. But no, seriously. It's announcement time. So, a few announcements. The URL for the Sunshining Podcast website is being changed. So in the description of this episode, I hope to have the updated podcast link, the link to the podcast website, because I'm changing the URL for the Sunshining Podcast website, which I don't know how many people visit the website for the Sunshining Podcast. But, I have a website for the Sunshining Podcast. So the URL is changing for that. Also, what were my announcements? This is the last official episode of the year for the Sunshining Podcast. So I'm coming back with the Sunshining Podcast next year. I hope to have lots more great guests. I thought I had one more announcement. Oh, I remember what it is. Okay. I feel like I'm like a pastor, or not a pastor, and somebody, in front of a church giving announcements, and not remembering what it is. Okay, the announcement, and this is a big one, and I've had this for a while. So I have a Discord server for the Sunshining, and so if you don't know what Discord is, then I don't know, it's fine. I could explain it to you, I guess. Discord is it's a chat for gamers. It's kind of like Facebook Messenger, kind of, but it's a chat app for gamers. But more than just gamers use it. Developers use it, YouTubers use it, lots of people use it. So I have a Discord server. It's like server. I'm not very good at describing these things, and I'm not really a Discord pro. I just started using Discord this spring, so in the spring of 2020, and we all know what happened and stuff in the spring, and so many things happened this year in 2020. So this is more than an announcement segment, but okay, I have a Discord server, so I invite you to join it. I have a Discord server for the Sunshining, so I invite you to join it. There's I have different text channels where you can talk about the Sunshining Podcast and even just other things, the Sunshining blog. If you're a writer, if you're just a fan of me, so many things. I'm not a Discord professional, but I don't even know how many. I know lots and lots of people use Discord. So if you are, a follower of the Sunshining Podcast, and if you subscribe to me here on YouTube, I encourage you to join my Discord server, and you can just kind of stay more connected with me and the Sunshining Podcast. And you can also send in your questions. That's a great way to send in questions. That is one thing I wanted to do. I never really kind of broadly advertised that you could send in questions to the Sunshining Podcast. But you can interact. So you can join my Discord server and you can interact with me and the Sunshining Podcast and other people on my Discord server, except right now it currently doesn't have anybody a part of it. But you can do, that's one way. But then also, you can also just interact with me on social media, and you can also in the comments on YouTube, you can just ask your questions there, and tell me what you liked. But I want to form a community, and I'm not very good at this. I've been, the year's wrapping up, and so I'm getting in the mood of just, end of year, beginning of new year, and I love New Year resolutions and making plans for the new year. And so I've been doing podcasting and YouTubing for a long time, and I've never been very good at it. I'm always using free software to do video editing and all that. But I want to, and one of my New Year things, and I know it's not the new year yet, it's the end of 2020, but one of my New Year things that I want to do is I want to bring my, and I do this, I don't necessarily do this every year, but I want to bring my YouTubing and my podcasting to a new level. And I want to form kind of a community of people around it. And that's something I haven't been too good at doing in the past. But, I'm getting better. I'm getting better at it. And so, one more announcement. So that was that. One more announcement is 150 Days of Psalms. One of the things I want to start the year 2021 with is 150 Days of Psalms. I want to spend the first 150 days in the book of Psalms, and I encourage you to join me. Spend the first 150 days in the book of Psalms. It doesn't have to be, I don't know how organized this necessarily be, but just, personally, on your own time, spend 150 days in the book of Psalms. Something I'm going to be doing that's kind of related to this thing that I encourage, the 150 days in Psalms. I'm going to be releasing a Psalms video to YouTube every day for the first 150 days of 2021. And basically, the Psalms videos are just, audio of me reading the Psalms and then pictures that you can use as desktop wallpaper. Yes, I have created a lot of desktop wallpaper. One of my goals when I first created, the SunBible Psalms memory pages and started the Psalms project was I wanted to put every single verse in the book of Psalms on photos. And when I first got that idea a long time ago, I never knew how I would do that. But it's coming into fruition, I think. I've never used that word before. I think that's how... Good way to use it. Okay. I'm starting to do that. I'm starting to put every single verse from the book of Psalms onto photos, and I'm putting them on photos that you can use as your desktop wallpaper. And then also I'm using these photos for the videos. It's kind of a slideshow kind of with transitions between it and then with the audio. So it's really beautiful. I have lots of beautiful pictures, and the audio's okay, me reading it. And I'm premiering them to YouTube for the, 150 Psalms, 150 days, first 150 days of 2021, premiering those to YouTube. And so I'm doing that. And then I personally, this is a challenge that I got to challenge myself to do, because I spend a lot of time in God's Word, because I created a study Bible, and I spend a lot of time in God's Word, reading it, recording it, putting verses on photos and all that. One thing I really want to challenge myself to do is just to spend some time in God's Word, spend some time in the Psalms, and I want to encourage you to do that too. And just, spend, I don't know, a minute or two. There's lots of short Psalms, and you don't have to read a whole chapter, maybe just a verse or something. Or kind of have a key chapter per day. Maybe read that chapter once or listen to my audio, because I will have audio for all 150 Psalms. I don't know. It may look different for everyone, but just let's, and it shouldn't take too much of your time, but yeah. And let's spend, the first 150 days in the book of Psalms. And so I think that's it for my announcements. Yeah. It's now time for some questions to help you think. So, how often do you fast? Have you fasted at all in 2020? There are many different things that you can fast from. It doesn't have to be just food, but food is a very good thing to fast from. But yeah, what are some things that are keeping you from fasting? And can you think of anything in your life that would be a good thing to fast from? For me personally, I think maybe I spend too much time on my phone. I don't know. I use my phone for a lot of things, like recording episodes of the Sunshining podcast and for doing, a lot of other things. And so, but, there comes a time when maybe, I should fast once in a while from using my phone. So that is one thing I need to fast from. And then also, I think even once in a while, fasting from food is a good thing. What are some reasons to fast? Because if you haven't fasted yet this year, maybe it's because you don't know of any good reasons to fast. So I'd like to share with you a few good reasons to fast. But one of the things that I think is just, no matter how many reasons there are to fast, it's just let's say I give you a good reason, let's say because it's healthy. That isn't something that should encourage you to fast just because it's healthy or whatever. I think one of the biggest reasons that I can just give you, because it is a good thing, and I'm going to share with you some verses from the Bible about fasting. But I think I guess it wasn't necessarily a commanded thing. Like, we're not necessarily commanded to fast, but it is just a good thing. And so I would highly recommend fasting. So back to the Sunshine podcast. I'm going to share with you some verses I collected about fasting. So I kind of transitioned. I recorded some of this when I was walking outside, and there were some birds making strange noises. And then I don't know how I'm going to end up editing, because I'm in the recording this podcast right now. I don't know how I'm going to end up editing this, but I think I'll put the clips of me outside, and then I'll put the false ad break / announcement section, and then I'll go into this. It's going to be kind of like, poof, poof, poof. You'll see a lot of, I don't know, no. There'll be like a transition between, no, what am I trying to say? It just kind of like poof from here and then poof from here. Whatever. I'm here in my room, and I'm recording, the Sunshine podcast. Okay, so some verses on fasting. So I've been doing a lot of work on SunBible. Over the years here, I have collected lots of verses on lots of different topics here, and I've published them as blog posts on the Sunshining. And so just recently, I fixed up the SunBible homepage with some links to these collections, and then the verses on fasting is a new collection of verses that I just collected this week. I don't have too many. I just have a few here, because I think too many verses on a topic, because I could find like lots more, but then they're not so much on that topic here. But so this is, I don't necessarily have a verse of the week this week. This is just some verses that go on the topic of fasting, so I'm going to read them here. Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But thou, when thou fastest, anoint thine head, and wash thy face, that thou appear not unto men to fast, but unto thy Father which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly. That, I think that was like a mouthful. That was Matthew 6:16 through 18. If you want to read these verses again, so because I don't know if I read fast. I know people say I read fast, so maybe I do. It's a beautiful page, and it's got a link where you can read this in context and all that, but you can read. So go to SunBible. There will be a link. There's always a link to SunBible in the description of every episode of the Sunshining podcast. And then on the homepage of the Sunshining podcast, you will see verses that talk about fasting. But let me read here. I got a few more verses to read. And when he was coming to the house, his disciples asked him privately. I have a kind of a bad habit also of when I'm reading to change it to an easier to understand word. But his disciples asked him secretly. I don't know. I always change privately to secretly, but whatever. I was just about to do that. That's why I'm explaining here. But okay, I'll read it correctly. Yeah. His disciples asked him privately, why could not we cast him out? And he said unto them, this kind can come forth not by nothing. No, I added a word. This kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. I'm terrible at reading the Bible. Or reading it in general. I'm always making mistakes. I'm accidentally injecting words that don't belong there. I'm mispronouncing things. But I love doing it. And, today, this is an end of the year kind of episode. And I'm just kind of in that end of the year spirit. And everyone kind of has different moods at the end of the year. But my mood is just, I was reviewing some videos and stuff I did. And, I've been doing Bible reading recordings and sharing Bible audio for years. It's 2020, but I found today some Bible reading recordings that I did in 2017, which I just was a beginner then. I was, and I wasn't very good. And then also last year, when I was in Edmonton, I recorded audio for a lot of the New Testament, and I had the audio. At that time, I released it to YouTube. And it was just like a kind of a black picture that said SunBible Audio Bible read by NCR, and I released it to YouTube. But today I deleted, it's like 100 some of those I just deleted from YouTube. They're no longer on YouTube. You can find SunBible Audio, like I have a special just webpage for it, but I want to. I don't have it necessarily scattered throughout SunBible, but where it belongs. But I do have audio for a lot of the Bible, and like, yeah, I love recording audio of the Bible, for the Bible, and sharing, the Bible in audio form. And I just love sharing God's word in beautiful ways. Okay, let me move on here and read the next verse. Okay, so that was Mark 9:28 through 29 that I just read there. But once again, you can find all these verses on SunBible. Okay. Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward and hungered. And when the tempter came to him, he said, If thou be the Son of God, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said, It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. I just love that verse there. It's 4 verses. It's Matthew chapter 4, verse 1 through 4. They're not really on the topic of fasting necessarily. Like, it's, they are kind of like Jesus fasted 40 days here, but then, yeah, I'm just going to read to you what Jesus said again. It is written, Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. I just love throwing in things just after I read every verse here. One thing that I just remembered after I read this verse is that last year I watched, I forget the exact name of it, 40 Days and Nights, I think was the name of it. But it was based, and you can find it. It was based on the 40 days that Jesus was in the wilderness, and how he's fasted for 40 days and nights, and how Satan tempted him, and it was really good. It's been a while since I watched it, so I don't remember it all, but it was really, really good, really powerful. I loved it. I would totally, there's so many Jesus movies out there. I definitely encourage you to watch some of them. If you haven't watched, and I know, see, this is something new for me because I didn't grow up necessarily watching movies and they are relatively new movies too, but what are the names of these? But there's I can't even remember the name of this most popular one there's lots of Jesus movies out there. You maybe have watched more than me. I don't know, but hey, if you haven't, I encourage you to watch some. Okay, let me read the next verse on fasting. Okay, then came to him the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast oft, but the disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, Can the children of the bride chamber mourn as long as the bridegroom is with them? But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken from them, and then shall they fast. And so, I guess when Jesus here, his disciples weren't fasting, I guess, often, and he was saying that when he's gone, they will fast. And so, fasting is very much something I feel like the church needs to do. And yeah, that's why I'm doing an episode about fasting. Okay, let me move on to the next verse here. One more verse here. So the last verse I read there was Matthew 9:14 to 15. So the next verse I'm reading here is Isaiah 58, 5 through 7. So, is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to the Lord? Is not this the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that ye break every yoke? Is it not to deal thy bread to the hungry, and that thou bring the poor that are cast out of thy house? When thou seest the naked, thou cover him, and that thou hide not thyself from thine own flesh. Whew, mouthful again. So much to take in. Okay. This is God talking here in Isaiah, and he's saying, and it's kind of hard to understand because I'm reading for the King James Version. I love the King James Version. But he's saying something about how this is not the fast that I've chosen. He's talking about how he wants people to fast, and how it shouldn't be just to afflict our soul. I mean, it is, yeah. It's not necessarily a day to afflict your soul. It is a day to... And you'd have to really read this in context and read it a couple times to get it here. But he wants us to do good, I guess, when we're fasting or whatever. He wants us to feed the hungry, and clothe the poor, and all that. Anyways, yeah, that wraps up the verses that I collected on fasting. So since I didn't really do like a specific verse of the week this week, I just want to ask you, what is a verse that's been speaking to you this week? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on social media. Tag the Sunshining on social media. And then also, join the Discord server for the Sunshining podcast. And another thing, so also I just want to share a fun fact with you right quick. Fun fact of the week. The word palaces is used a few times in Psalms there. Either that or maybe it's because I've been working with it so often here. I actually, fun fact, so I don't know what the fun fact is, but I mispronounced the word palaces. I was wondering, see, at first when I saw it, I thought it was places, so I pronounced it places, but it's palaces. And so I had to re-record that one chapter in Psalms a couple times. It was one of the first 50 Psalms because I recorded all of them in the last few weeks here. Got them ready to go on YouTube for the 150 Psalms thing that I announced in the announcement part of this. And you will hear more information about over the coming weeks. And also did a blog post on it too, on the Sunshining blog. Okay, fun fact, yeah. The word palaces, and that's kind of interesting. Like, it's a really cool verse. Definitely, I encourage you to spend some time in the Psalms. I guess that was kind of the fun fact. And the reason I may have run into it more times than maybe I've heard that word multiple times is because, I'm putting the verses on photos, and then I'm recording it, and then I'm putting the audio and those photos together to make video, and then, so that's why I may have come across it more often, but it's kind of cool, the reason it's a fun fact is just because the way it's used, I don't know, the word palaces is used. I mean, Psalms is a large book. Of course, the word palaces is used in there. I don't know how many times it's used in the entire book. It's just used a few times there in, I think, one of the chapters of Psalms 40 something. That's it. Once again, thank you so much for listening to the Sunshining Podcast. I think I've said everything that needs to be said. I'm just editing my podcast right now. Of course, not right now, not as you're watching this, but and I came to the piece where I was like, I didn't remember those movies that were on the life of Jesus, but the one that I was talking about is The Passion. And there's a few other movies, but The Passion's really good. If you haven't watched The Passion, I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a Christmas movie. I know Christmas is coming up. One thing I recommend people, and this that I to do every year around Christmas time, because I'm the founder of the creator of SunBible. That's what I'm going to say. I encourage people just to read about the life of Jesus around Christmas, and so I kind of unintentionally brought that up in this episode. I talked a little bit about fasting in this episode, and that was kind of the topic of it. But then also there's so many other topics that I talked about and I just kind of brought together, and I wasn't planning to talk about like the life of Jesus and stuff, but so I'm throwing that here on the end. But definitely you can read, if you go to SunBible, I'm advertising SunBible again, but you can go to SunBible, you can read about the life of Jesus on SunBible, and definitely do that, find out, because lots of people keep Christmas, for me and my family, that's not something we do. We don't celebrate Christmas, but I encourage you, if you're somebody who does keep Christmas, just read about the life of Jesus, and, because that's what Christmas is all about. It's supposed to be all about Jesus, so read about the life of Jesus, and definitely, watch some movies about Jesus, The Passion, or I think 40 Days isn't, I don't know, it's not something me and my family has watched. It's something I watched on my own, the 40 Days, based on the, time when Jesus was in the wilderness, and, it was fasted 40 days and 40 nights. That was a really good thing. Film on the life of Jesus, or not the life of Jesus, but this, I really enjoyed that. Okay, I'm talking for way too long here. One thing that I forgot to say when I was closing my episode when I recorded earlier is just that, as always, just thank you. Not thank you. As always. Oh my goodness. See, I've switched from like recording mode to editing mode now, so that's why I'm like, my mind's going bigger, blah, blah. whatever. Okay, as always, yeah, please, as always, my name is NCR. And please think about what you have heard from me here at The Sun Shining. I think I've said enough for this episode of The Sun Shining Podcast.